I should have warned you before I did that. But
okay, we were done with the basement. Here's Charles taking the last beam out, except it just came down with a couple of floor joists. But it shouldn't be too big a deal because they're all going to disappear tomorrow anyhow. But all the rest of the beams are gone and the house is still standing. Rich and I finished up all of the items on our list, including getting copper tubing out as much as we could until I broke the saw blade. And the beams are the last thing, this last beam, and then I'll pull the lights out, and then we're done down here. And everything was all cleaned up and taken out. So would have liked to have gotten the chimney out, but there's no way to do that because that goes up through the center of the house and is pretty well attached all the way up. So I'll lose all the bricks that are in there, but there'll be other bricks. Charles worked on getting the tree stumps down to where they could be driven over with a tracked vehicle, or well, actually rubber tired vehicle for that matter. So they're down within a couple of inches of the ground, and shouldn't be any problem getting access to the house. The trees that we picked were the elm trees, mostly to get rid of the Siberian elm, which is kind of a weed tree, but also they were at convenient locations to get access to the corners of the house. So this one is on the northeast corner. That tree left, and it was the one that was by the back sidewalk up to the back steps and going inside. Rich and I did finish up inside. We went through all of the cabinets and the linen closet and made sure that everything that we thought people would want is out of there now, and so it's completely ready to go, both on the main floor and now down in the basement, with finishing up the basement today. I'll show you the other tree up front. Here's the front tree that we took out, which was the real tall, and I would say it was about 80% dead tree. The only live part of it was here on the east side, and it was mostly just the bark and a little bit of the trunk that was keeping the part of the tree higher up that was still alive going, you know, with sap and everything. The rest of the tree to the west is all rotted, and this one basically provides good access to the porch and the southeast corner of the house, and then we've cleared places on the other side of the house so that they can get in to the west room. In fact, they went ahead and brought their track excavator out and parked it on the lawn, and also a little bobcat that they're going to use to clean up around. This excavator has a big grapple on the front end that they'll use to just grab the stuff up and then put it into the dump trucks that'll be backed in. So rather than a scoop, it's got this grapple, you know, which will not only take the house apart, but will also let them load it onto the dump trucks. This is all that's left of the two trees that we took out, which are the big trunk parts and a little bit of the stumps that we've just got setting here, and then it'll take some time to get them cut up so they can dry. But there's three of them stacked there, plus there's parts of the stumps and then a little pile of wood that was left and hasn't been moved yet. But everything else is pretty much cleaned up, but I'm going to get a landscape rake that'll be good to get into places to rake up all of the limbs and branches and twigs and stuff that come down in the yard. But pretty well cleaned up here. When I went down to the wedding last weekend, I took my flatbed trailer, and one of the things I brought back was an old drop rake that Ann had given me, and I've got the drop rake plus a one-row cultivator that my friend up in Maxwell, Nebraska gave me, Randy Stubbs, now as display in front of the barn. And as soon as Randy Stubbs saw the rake didn't have a seat, I got an email from him and said, "Watch your mail, you'll be getting a seat for the rake in the mail any day now." So he's a pretty nice friend. So I'm going to try to keep a guard on these, and hopefully people won't mess with them. Here's the pile of timbers that Charles has been getting out of the house. Actually, that last one he took out that came down with two other timbers that were part of the floor actually sank down a couple of inches, so you can imagine what it was like before Dad really put those in there. Here's my metal reclamation pile. There's a pile of copper there. There's also some steel, brass, and other stuff set out there to recycle. Just trying to save as much of that and recycle it as we can. There's a couple more timbers over there, the bigger ones. Still got the cabinets from the basement, but the freezer no one wanted, so I've set it out with a free sign on it. Here comes Rich and Charles with another timber. Here's the last of the stuff that Rich and I got out of the basement, which is mostly Dad's stuff, but we'll need to sort it. Dad's workbench and some other tools, lots of metal that he had saved, stuff like that. I'm going to build a small museum in the east side of the barn where I sort of restored it and put the floor back in, and for a little museum. And this old radio plus a lot of other stuff I'm actually going to put in a little museum so people can take a look at it when they come and visit. So take me a little while to clean that out and get it set up. And still working on the equipment building for the network equipment and the energy equipment. I did get all of the roof sheathing put on, but I haven't laid any felt paper down on it. It's fairly watertight the way it is, and I did go ahead and get a door and got the door installed in there. The building in the process of being built has settled about a ½ inch on the north side, so I probably need to jack and shim that to level it up, but it's not that noticeable when you're in there. The floor's good and solid, it just settled a little bit, so it's not quite level. With all the tree cutting and cleanup going on, one of the things I've been doing is all of the brush that we collect or create, been collecting and building this big brush pile down out in a corner of the field. And then this winter when there's snow on the ground, I'll go ahead and get a burn permit, and I'll burn this along with a bunch more that I collected in previous years, and we'll move over here as part of the rest of the cleanup, and all of it can be burned to get rid of it. Okay, that's it. The old house is ready to be torn down. It only took me from the middle of April to, let's see, today's probably August 9th, working to get it ready to be torn down. When I first started on it, middle of April, I could only work part of each day and every other day at most, because I was still fairly sick at that point, but I just kept feeling or getting better every day and feeling better, and pretty soon I was able to work pretty much full days and got it done. And everyone hates to see the old house go, but there was just no way that I could really fix it, and in its place I'm going to build something that will look much better and people will really enjoy when they come to visit. Most of the artifacts out of the old house will be in the museum on the east side of the barn, and we've saved a lot of stuff that was in there. It's just the stuff that was too hard to save or had already gotten ruined but did not get saved.